everyone. Welcome to Work Love Wednesday. Daisy and Smelter here for Work Love Wednesday. It is time for Work Love Wednesday. Hi, Facebook and Instagram. Hi, Instagram. I hope your signal holds up there. Yeah, it's Wednesday, so it's time for some work love. And if you can tell by my ears, I'm in Disney World in the hotel room with the entire family. So maybe there will be cameos or just loud random bursts of sounds like that. I don't know if you can hear that or not. But they have their iPads and headphones on, but they are very enthusiastic about the games that they're watching. So if you're hopping on live, make sure you comment and say hello, because like I said, they don't tell me who's watching. They just tell me how many of you watch. So unless you comment, I have no idea. But speaking of comments and questions, so last week, the topic seemed to be very popular, which doesn't surprise me. Anytime I talk about toxic relationships or establishing boundaries, those are usually the hot topics that come to be. And so, but one of the things that came up, a question was, I used the word empath, and people wanting to fully understand what that word means, and also associating with a negative context. And one of the things that I just want to put out there, I mean, that could be a whole topic, and that's not what I want to talk about today, because I want to talk about, actually getting away and having vacation. But what I want to talk about, and I feel like these should come off while I talk about something serious, but what I want to talk about is vacation, but with regards to an empath, just letting you know exactly what that is. So empaths are individuals who can feel what other people are feeling like they're feeling it themselves. So it's almost like your physical boundary for emotions from people doesn't exist. So if you think about feelings or emotions like waves, they can just kind of run right into you. And so someone like me who's been very sensitive my entire life did not know that when I'm around somebody who loves you, that you're overwhelmingly filled with that love, because has very ill feelings towards you regardless. Those feelings come right through you as well. And so last week what I was saying is that as empaths, if you are an empath, and whether you don't call it that or not, but you have that skill set, because it actually is a skill set as an empath, being able to feel what other people feel. When you're dealing with toxic relationships, you can actually take on those emotions about yourself, believing that you feel that way about yourself. And that can take you down quite a downward spiral and bunny trail and lead to some really awful things. So if you are someone who is super sensitive, you're someone who knows that you get overwhelmed when you're around large crowds of people. If you find yourself going into a room feeling one way and then coming out feeling a completely other way, and you're not sure why, there could be a chance that you're super sensitive. Typically these people are introverted by nature, but it's something to definitely look into, and it's something that I want to talk about more so, because I think that the only place that people talk about it is not a place that we would commonly go to. So anyways, I just wanted to clear that up. Being an empath is not a bad thing. It is a skill. It is an actual very useful skill. It's one that I believe that we need to have more of in the HR world, or one that I think most HR individuals are empaths. That's why they're called to do that kind of work, but don't really know what to do with that skill set. With that being said, we always associate empath with empathy, which is, understanding how another person feels. Yes. But being an empath is completely different. This goes beyond just having an understanding what other people feel. It's almost being able to take on those emotions like they're your own, which is a very useful skill, and being able to sort through it and in the world of communication. But you have to know how to use that and also be able to establish healthy boundaries with it so that their emotions don't become your emotions. So that's all I'll say today about that. But today I want to talk about actually getting away, and how do you make that happen. So we're in Disney World this week. This is the first time I've been in Disney World since I moved to Pennsylvania. Oh my gosh, I don't know, 20 plus years, probably, I guess. Almost 20 years. And yeah, almost 20 years. I guess, yeah, almost 20 years. Not quite. But one of the things, what? Josh is doing the math because he knows I'm horrible at it. But one of the things that I thought would be really cool about coming to the East Coast was that I would get to go to Disney World because I grew up around Disneyland, which I know, ultra spoiled. Most of us don't have that opportunity. But even those who go to Disneyland all the time dream of going to Disney World. Yet it's taken almost 20 years for me to get here. And I think part of that is just in the world of priorities, we always permitted ourselves to plan one vacation a year, which I think a lot of people have that from a budgetary standpoint, and even from a timing standpoint when you're thinking about time off. I get 2 weeks or whatever that scenario is. And so we focus on planning this one time a year. But what we don't pay attention to is our productivity cycles. So we always need time to rejuvenate. We always need time to restore ourselves. And regardless, and I could call this out in my work, planning your calendar and making time to go away. And so paying attention to those cycles, knowing that I can basically make it 6 weeks and then I need time for myself. And maybe that time for myself is a longer weekend. So maybe it's going to, last week we went to the Brew at the Zoo event, which I highly, highly recommend, with Mary Rose and her husband Chad, just Josh and I, not the girls. And but that was like a little bit of a time away weekend. But what I really challenge you to do is look at your calendar and plan it that way. Look at not just banking on weekends, because weekends you fill with other kinds of work. You fill with the personal life kind of work, because we have those tasks on top of our professional tasks. And basically you're still always in this kind of work mode. But if you do your calendar correctly, and when you kind of have those dips where things are a challenge for you, you can plan accordingly and make sure that you always stay at your best. I'm still not perfect at it. It's definitely a concept that I read about that I thought was better. Even this trip was very last minute and was kind of, we're just going to do this and we're just going to put it on because I want to go and I'm going to make it a priority. We do have several trips planned for this summer, and I think that's kind of a result of us pushing everything off. But we even recognize that we want to be more diligent about planning them throughout the year and being more conscious and getting them on in advance. Because if your calendar is anything like my calendar or Josh's calendar, or even with having 2 little girls that are starting to get active into things, they fill up very quickly. So if you don't have a date on there months in advance, there's a good chance that there's not going to be a free weekend. If you're waiting for just that free weekend to get away, it's not going to happen. And so some of you might notice if you go back on my social media feed that there's more and more time away. And one of the things that I've realized and Josh has realized is that we have to physically get away. Otherwise, we always get wrapped up in something that we know we must do, or a project we must do around the house. So if we know we need time to be together, if we know we need time to just spend as a family, if we need time to just kind of disconnect, we physically have to go somewhere. And so that made planning the trips even more essential. So this week it's going to be short because I'm on vacation, but I wanted to leave you with that little nugget. So if you know that you want to have more vacation, but you're somebody who says, I never have it, plan it in advance. Plan it a year in advance. Do like what marketing people do when they do a marketing calendar where they plan it the whole year in advance. Do that for your time off. You can map out your cycles. I guarantee that right now you could go through and look at your productivity cycles based off of the year, whether you're in accounting or retail. You know when your busy seasons are. So like if you're in retail, you're not going to plan a vacation for Black Friday. I'm not going to plan a vacation probably during any of the holiday season, November or December. But in January, when it slows down, depending on your retail environment, maybe that's when you're taking a trip. And if you can't take a week, then maybe you can take a couple of days. And don't underestimate the power of 5 days or 3 days. I know that I was always thinking you had to be away for a week. You had to be away for 10 days or 2 weeks. Like the longer, the better. Not always the case. Sometimes you can find, even when you go away, like even in the all-inclusive resorts, there's times where you're like, I would be okay if we had gone back a day early. And that's a day I could have used somewhere else throughout the year. So leave your comments, questions, send me emails if you want to. So like last week with the questions about the empath, great questions. And I'm working on some stuff actually to start sharing those lessons with you, because it's one of the most powerful lessons that I've learned in the last 4 or 5 years now, is that I'm an empath, that it's actually a skill called clairsentient. So if you want to go on your Google little bunny hole, it's called clairsentient. And it is a very powerful tool as an HR professional. It's a intuitive, innate tool that I have naturally, but you can develop. All of us have the ability to develop those senses. And but yeah, we're gonna talk about that later. So I hope you all have an awesome week. Follow me on social media, because I'm sure there'll be lots of fun posts as we head to the magical kingdom today, Animal Kingdom tomorrow, and Epcot on Friday. All right.